There are athletes who burst onto the scene with noise and spectacle. And then there are those who arrive through the back door, building themselves piece by piece until their presence can no longer be ignored. Addison Barger belongs to the second kind. His rise through baseball has been less about flash and more about fire, a long, patient climb driven by persistence and a devotion to the craft that few truly understand. He's not the kind of player who needs attention. He's the kind who earns it. Growing up in Tampa, Florida, Barger's connection to baseball began early and naturally. For him, the sport wasn't a hobby, it was a language. Every sound, the pop of the mitt, the crack of the bat, the hum of the crowd, spoke to him. From his first Little League games, he played with intensity that outpaced his years. He didn't need to be told twice to practice, and he didn't need a coach to remind him to hustle. That internal drive, the quiet competitiveness that burns beneath the surface, would become his trademark long before the rest of the baseball world even knew his name. By the time Barger reached high school, it was clear that baseball wasn't just something he was good at. It was something he was built for. At Leon King High School, he stood out not because he was the loudest or the biggest, but because he played with precision. Scouts took note of his smooth left-handed swing, his arm strength, and his fielding instincts. But what impressed people most was his edge, that refusal to be satisfied. Every practice was a chance to sharpen something. Every game a chance to measure himself against a higher standard. In 2018, when the Toronto Blue Jays called his name in the 6th round of the MLB draft, Addison's dream took form. For most kids, that's the peak, a validation of everything they've worked for. But for Barger, it was only the beginning. The grind of professional baseball awaited, endless bus rides, unpredictable conditions, and the sobering truth that potential means nothing without patience. And in that grind, he discovered what kind of player, and man, he truly was. Those first few seasons tested him in every possible way. Baseball has a way of humbling even the most talented players, and for Barger, the adjustment was steep. He had flashes of brilliance, stretches of struggle, and moments of doubt. There were times when the swing didn't feel right, when confidence came and went like the wind. But he never lost faith. Instead, he worked harder than anyone around him. If a slump came, he stayed in the cage until his hands blistered. If his timing slipped, he studied tape until he found the rhythm again. He didn't run from failure. He faced it head-on and made it part of his evolution. And then came the setback that could have ended it all. His suspension in 2020 was a gut punch, not just to his career, but to his sense of self. For a moment, the dream seemed to hang in the balance. But the measure of a person isn't in how they fall, it's in how they rise. During that year away from the game, Barger didn't hide or retreat. He rebuilt. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, he reconstructed himself piece by piece. He worked on his discipline, his mindset, his identity as both a player and a person. When he returned, he wasn't the same kid who left. He was stronger, sharper, and wiser. That transformation became visible the moment he stepped back on the field. In 2021 and 2022, Barger's game took flight. His swing grew more compact and explosive. His patience at the plate matured. His confidence was no longer fragile. It was grounded in preparation. He didn't chase pitches, he commanded at-bats. He didn't press for power. It came naturally, flowing from the balance and rhythm he'd worked so hard to master. And suddenly, the numbers started to reflect what scouts and teammates had been whispering. Addison Barger was becoming something special. Across multiple levels of the Blue Jays system, Barger turned heads. At High A Vancouver, he hit for average and power, showing the kind of pop that could change the course of a game in an instant. At Double A New Hampshire, he became the heartbeat of the lineup, the steady, fearless competitor who set the tone. And by the time he reached Triple A Buffalo, it was clear that he was knocking on the door of the majors. But even then, his focus wasn't on arrival. It was on improvement. He wanted to earn everything, not just be handed an opportunity. Coaches who've worked with Barger often describe him with one word: intentional. Every swing, every drill, every throw has purpose. He doesn't waste movement. He doesn't fake effort. He's a player who brings meaning to the mundane, who turns routine reps into something sacred. That's rare in today's game, where hype often outruns habit. But Barger is a throwback. He believes in the grind. He believes in showing up early, staying late, and outworking everyone in between. When he finally stepped onto a Major League Baseball field, wearing the Toronto Blue Jays uniform, it was more than a debut. It was a declaration. All those nights of doubt, all the lonely practices and quiet sacrifices had led to this moment. And when he took his position on the field, he wasn't nervous, he was ready. Because readiness, for him, wasn't about confidence, it was about preparation. He had already lived this moment 1,000 times in his mind, in the batting cage, in the weight room, in every repetition that built the foundation beneath him. There's something deeply poetic about Barger's style of play. He's not a showman, he's a craftsman. His swing doesn't scream for attention, but it sings with precision. His throws have that crisp authority of someone who trusts their mechanics. His demeanor never wavers, even when the game does. He doesn't get too high or too low. That even-keeled nature, that ability to stay centered, is a gift in a sport that thrives on chaos. Off the field, Addison Barger is equally compelling. He's humble, grounded, and mindful of how far he's come. He doesn't forget where he started, the long days in Florida heat, the hours spent dreaming of the big leagues, the people who believed in him before the rest of the world noticed. He carries that gratitude quietly, letting it fuel his consistency. And in an age where social media often defines athletes, Barger stands apart. He doesn't chase clicks, he chases growth. His focus is inward, his energy purposeful. Every player who's ever made it to the majors has a story, but few carry the kind of introspective depth that Barger does. His journey is about more than baseball. It's about transformation, redemption, and the beauty of resilience. He's the kind of athlete who reminds you why the game matters, why we still romanticize the grind. Because at its core, baseball isn't about instant glory. It's about learning to live with failure and keep believing anyway. And nobody embodies that better than Addison Barger. As the Blue Jays look toward the future, there's every reason to believe that Barger's role will continue to grow. His versatility in the field, his balance at the plate, and his leadership in the dugout make him a cornerstone in the making. But beyond the numbers, beyond the projections, it's his attitude that will carry him furthest. He knows how to navigate adversity. He knows how to stay patient in moments of uncertainty. And he knows that the greatest victories often come to those who wait and work. In many ways, Barger is part of a new generation of baseball players redefining what success looks like. It's not about being the loudest or most marketable. It's about being the most reliable. It's about understanding that greatness is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about playing for something bigger than statistics or contracts, playing for love, legacy, and respect. And that's exactly what Addison brings every time he steps between those lines. When you watch him play, you can feel it, that combination of calm and fire. You can see it in his eyes before each pitch, in the way he tracks the ball, in the way he approaches every swing with purpose. There's no wasted energy, no false bravado, just pure, focused passion. He plays like someone who knows how fragile opportunity is and how precious it feels when it's earned. So as his career continues to unfold, there's no doubt that Addison Barger will keep making his mark. Whether it's a clutch hit in the late innings, a diving stop in the infield, or simply the way he carries himself through the highs and lows, he's building something lasting. His story isn't about overnight fame, it's about long-term legacy. It's about showing the next generation that it's possible to climb without cutting corners, to grow without losing yourself, to believe without giving up. Because at the end of the day, Addison Barger is more than a baseball player. He's an example, a symbol of quiet strength. Proof that if you trust your work, stay grounded in your values, and keep faith in your purpose, the game, like life, will eventually reward you. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this tribute to Addison Barger, a player whose journey embodies persistence, humility, and belief, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate the heart behind the game.